direction.
Okay.
It's
Are you,
low, but it's good.
and you're going to hit record.
I've already hit record. I told you we're recording. I need to
I'm
turn it
getting a
on.
message that says meeting is now streaming live on YouTube.
Yeah. So,
Hello, this is Gina,
and this is Don.
and this is Ask the OT. I am an occupational therapist. I have worked in adult and geriatric rehab for over 30 years, helping individuals to regain independence and helping family members to best know how to care for their aging loved one. And I am in the middle, as we talk about the sandwich generation. I am helping to care for my parents. I care for my mom, who cares for my dad, and helping them figure out their journey while working and growing a business and juggling two kids who still live at home. And like life is a lot of juggling, right? So I kind of like the word
Yes.
juggling better than sandwiched. And so I am here to talk about caring for your aging loved ones. We do these live so that people can send us messages. How can they reach us, Don?
Well, they can, if they want to just use chat, they can go on to our Focused Healthy Family YouTube channel. And from there, they can see us live, go live, and then use the chat box to chat. And I'm keeping an eye on the chat box. If they want to send an email, they can send an email to don@focusedhealthyfamily.com. And if they want to go on live with you on Zoom, I can also send them Zoom information, which if we can't do it today, in the future, if you'd like to be on with Gina, you can go directly on Zoom with her.
And if you have a
And
question right now and you don't know, and you're watching this on YouTube, but you don't know how to chat, could they just reach out and text you their question,
they
Don?
could text me at my phone number, 704-562-1630. I'll put that up. In fact, I'll put that in the chat right now. Some different ways for them to contact me.
Because you can, if you want to send your question anonymously, or if you want to discuss it as we go, sending us questions in advance. We will be doing this again soon. We've been doing it a couple times a month on a Wednesday at noon. Is it Wednesday at noon right now? I think it is. No, but Wednesday's at 1. We changed it.
Well, normally we try to keep it at that, but
Somewhere between 12 and 1, and Monday evenings often at 7. And this is Eastern time. So just to be on the lookout for more of these happening. And, if you don't want to share personally, you can send the questions in, reach out to us privately and let us know.
so we've got a couple of questions. Just I think that good for us to start out with. Um, Let me get those set. So the first one's from Simon, and Simon says, "My dad still thinks he is in the house he grew up in, and when I tell him no, he gets really mad. What should I do?"
So I have questions with that. And I know this question was sent ahead of time, so we can't ask this person directly, but is he living with you, or is he living in a different house? And so the first question is, does it matter if he thinks he's living in the house he grew up in?
There you go.
If it doesn't matter, then meet him where is at in his world. We talked about this. We've been speaking at different support group meetings, and we talked about this today, that someone with dementia, you have to join them in their world. It does not serve anyone to reorient him to where he's at. And so you need to meet him where he's at. Now, if there are safety issues and other concerns that you have in regards to this, then those issues need to be addressed. But on the surface level, it doesn't matter if that's where he thinks he is, unless there's problems that relate to that. Um, it's hard to not have a follow-up question to know which way to go with it. But okay, so there could be an issue as far as he's asking where things are. He's getting angry because he's like, I put this here and it should be right here. Someone who thinks they're in a house that they're not in and they're wondering where things are, and it's affecting their behavior. It's, they're accusing people of stealing things, taking things. Um, so that's a little bit different question. And then it's a matter of sometimes it helps to have just a simple statement, you know, remember, Dad, you grew up on that. Tell me about the house you grew up in. And that could be a tactic just to redirect. Tell me all about the house. Tell me what it looked like. Oh, oh, it doesn't look like that anymore. And it could be a matter of saying, well, things changed, or depending on where they're at, well, we're living here now. And yeah, I miss that house too. So you can engage them by asking them to tell you more about the house they grew up in and just getting them stories. For some people, that's it. They just need to be able to talk about that. And for other people, they're trying to find something, they're angry about it. It could be a matter of, yeah, things changed and oh, it's frustrating that things changed. You can still let them believe that they're in the house that they grew up in and just say, oh yeah, things had to happen and change. They talked about at the support group we went to today, what did she call it? Compassionate lying. She had a different term for it.
No,
Therapeutic?
therapy, therapy lying is what I think way she put it. Yeah.
Therapeutic lying
Yeah.
in that, we want them to be safe. We want them to function the best they can at the highest level they can to have the best quality of life. And we want to respect them that they're an adult and respect their personality and who they are. So different people respond better to different things. Some, maybe it's a later state of dementia, especially if it's like an Alzheimer's type dementia. You just start asking them about their house and they're off on that tangent and they're telling you about their house and whatever it is they were upset about, might disappear until later. And you might need to do this repetitively. And this is where it gets stressful for people acting as caregivers because you have things you've got to get done. You've got to do the meals, whatever your responsibilities are for your own personal self, the rest of your family, and taking care of this person. And they keep asking you the same questions over and over again. And you keep having to tell the same things. And that's where we got to take care of ourselves. Oh, I forgot to start with something. And that's where we need to step aside. We talked about this today, and someone's demanding something. You say, you know what? I got to move stuff to the dryer. So give me a few minutes. Let me go take care of that. So you're making your therapeutic lie. You're making an excuse that they can relate to that you've got to go take care of. Maybe they don't hear good. Oh, the phone's ringing. I've got to go get it. And then you go away to a quiet place and use a coping strategy. And it could be simple. It could be short and quick. We talk about tapping. My favorite tapping point is up here under the collarbone, and you can rub or just tap. Slow, deep breathing. Just, there's lots of different breathing methods. And one I like to do just because it's so simple, it's called 4-4-4. You breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, you blow out for 4. And you might do another 4 before you breathe in. I don't know if there's 4 fours or 3 fours.
It's a 4-4, but I'm trying to think of what the fourth one is.
Someone behind me is filling me in on it. Are there 4 fours or 3 fours? There are 4 boxed breathing. See,
Yeah.
I've got special technical people in my background giving me information. So we're going to do this right now. So kind of one way to relax easily is pull your shoulders up tight and you tense up and then you go, okay, relax. Then you let it go. And you're going to take a slow, deep breath, just in for a count of 4. And it's good to breathe in through your nose. You're going to hold it, 2, 3, 4. You're going to slowly breathe out, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to pause, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then breathe in again. And it doesn't have to be seconds. It's just a count of 4. So maybe you're coming anxious and you're like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But by doing it, you can slow it down. And then you can be like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Out 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Okay, hold and blow out. And so it doesn't matter where you start out. If you got angry four breaths in. Oh, they tell me to do this and this doesn't work and I hate this, but I'm going to do it anyhow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you might find that you can calm yourself down even a little bit and to slow that breathing down even a little bit. Even if you still feel angry and anxious, you're going to be a lower level of anxiety and stress than you walked into it with. And you can step back, maybe you can't step out for very long because who knows what they're going to get into. And you step back, okay, all right, I took care of that now. Okay. And with someone with dementia, when you step away and you step back in, it could be like starting all over again. Like, oh, hello. you know, you come to visit me, if they think they're living in their house. Or it could be like, oh, I'm glad you're back because, or they might take off right where they left off again. But if you are calmer, then you can handle it better. You're like, okay, we're doing this thing again. Okay, I got to deal with this. Yeah, I missed your old house. This is what it looked like. Yeah, tell me more about it. And oh, isn't it a shame we can't still live there? And you might be going over this over and over again. And yet, if it helps them remain calm, if it helps minimize behaviors and things like wandering, because that can be triggered by running away, feeling trapped, feeling like something bad is happening, that anxiety and that anger and tension that is in the air because we're trying to care give and there's so much going on that permeates, right, Don? It's energy and it connects with other people's energy.
Yes.
We talk about how, if you come home stressed and anxious, then your family members get stressed and anxious, your kids respond snappy to you, or if you walk in, your parents living at their home or facility and you walk in because you're in a hurry, you might not have a good interaction with them versus when you're calm and you have a moment of peace and you come into the conversation from a different perspective, it can make a big difference. Um,
Well, I think it's also um, just to touch a little bit more on this whole idea of respect, because that's what you've taught, what you just went over in how you respond. It's about that. It's about respecting their feelings, respecting them. That's the way to get to a better conclusion to what the conversation or the anger or whatever. It's a better way to bring it down.
sure, because all people deserve respect, no matter their age, no matter their limitations, no matter their cognitive status. And sometimes all people want to do is be heard. You might think, oh
Mhm.
my God, he thinks he's in his own home. Thinks he can do all these things. Maybe he just wants to tell some stories. I work with older people and sometimes they just want someone to listen to them. And I can build a really good rapport and get people to engage in therapy activities because I just take 5 minutes, sometimes 15, sometimes I have to redirect
Well,
it
good.
because they could talk forever. Um, but they feel heard. And you have another therapist go in, they wouldn't do anything with me. And I go in and I'm like, oh, I listened to him for 5 or 10 minutes and I engaged with him and then I got him to do things. Like it's taking that time for them to just feel heard. And I know a lot of people I see are coming right from the hospital, and I know how crazy that is. And then all of a sudden they're told, okay, you're going to rehab. And they're like, oh, my family told me I had to come here and I don't know why. And, or, oh, it's been so long and I just want to get home. And I just, I think if I just went home, I could do everything fine. Or, that, oh God, how am I going to do this? And this, I often get dumped on by what happened in the hospital. And I don't mind that because they need to let that out. But maybe there's someone who's told it a million times and I have to redirect them. But getting to express that, they feel heard. I've built a rapport with me. Okay, this person's actually going to listen to me, and I have a great weekend nurse supervisor where I've been working. And if they have, complaints and issues about how they were how they were treated, I'm like, the only way this is going to change is if we let someone know. And sometimes it's just a matter of, okay, you have questions and concerns that I can't answer. Let me send the nurse supervisor in. And I know she's great at doing this too. She's great at listening and acknowledging people's feelings and really taking the steps that she can. But a lot of it's about how we listen to people, how we negotiate, how we approach can make a huge difference in whether that family member or that patient gets more agitated, angry, and like threatening lawsuits, or they like accept it. And maybe they're still an angry person and um, communication. It just makes all the difference in the world, right, Don? Enough
Yep.
said. Just think about how you communicate. That will make your life better.
All
The
right.
end.
Just do it. A Bob Newhart scenario. Just
Yeah,
do it
we need to pull
or
up
just
that
stop it.
that snippet at some point when he's playing a psychiatrist in some skit. I don't even know if it was from his show or not, but he's playing this psychiatrist and she's telling about, we'll have to share it sometimes, about the problem that she's having. And it's like, I've got two words for you. You need to really listen to these words. You need to heed this advice. And he goes, stop it. And she's like, what? What? She's going, but how can I? Did you hear me? Just stop it. And it's funny because right, that doesn't, you can't tell people, stop being so
No,
anxious, stop being so angry, stop
calm
worrying.
down.
Well, even people, that are at the facility and they have all these questions and concerns and they're there for short-term rehab or whatever and they want to know what's going. Don't worry, mom, we've got that taken care of. Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. Well, that doesn't make them stop worrying about it. You can say, "Oh wow, you're really stressed about that, mom. I realize that. I'm going to take this off your plate. Let me take care of these things for you." They're still going to worry. They still might
Mhm.
complain. I still might bring it up. Remember, I hear you. You're upset and this bothers you. You've got other things. You got to take care of yourself getting better. And, I'm going to step in and take care of this part. And we've got to get over repeating ourselves. We got to get over, um, well, and when you're dealing with, a parent, right? All of a sudden you're kind of in the role of caregiver for them. And even though with dementia, they might be at a place where they're developmentally like a younger person, they are not a younger person. They are not a child. And you can't just say, well, you're the child now and I'm the parent and you got to just listen to me. That doesn't feel very empowering to them. You could say, hey, mom, it's my turn to help you out. You did all these things for me growing up and you had to stand up for me and step in. And now it's my time. And it kind of doesn't matter what kind of parent they were. If you can bring it upon yourself to say that, that could shift the energy so much so that it's not you can't do this anymore for yourself. You can't take care of yourself. I've got to do it for you. It's you know, you did things when you were able to, and now it's my turn to kind of help you a little bit. And this is what I can do, and this is what I can't do. A lot of people, especially I see this baby boomer generation and even the older, the silent generation, I guess, they don't want to burden their loved ones. They don't want them to be responsible. So they don't want to tell them what's going on. Or there's family dynamics can play a big part in this, right? What your relationship was like before. And I see people who didn't have a good relationship with their parent. They weren't parented in a supportive, loving way. And yet they are able to be supportive and loving for their parent. And then it makes everyone less stressful. And yet, if you're like, okay, well, she treated me this way when I was a kid, why should I be nice to her? And
Yeah,
and angry and resentful, that's just going to breed more anger and more resentment, and it's going to make it difficult on you. Forget them. How you talk to them,
it affects
maybe it
affects
affects
both
you.
parties. Yeah.
And maybe you're like you're annoyed with your mom or dad. Your dad was a narcissist and he cheated on your mom and you just really didn't, like who he is as a person. And here you are having to step in and do something in a caregiver role or finding support for him. Well, doing it in this respectful way and communicating is going to make it easier for you. And you might not see that at first. Maybe if we're holding on to resentments, this is true in all areas of life, right, Don? That
Hmm.
if we're holding on to those resentments and we're approaching things from an angry place or a frustrated place, or maybe, we don't, a lot of times we don't realize we're doing that. Well, I'm not doing what I got to do. I'm taking care of these things. Well, whoa, let's stop a minute. Let's stop and look. What are you feeling? Where are you at with this? Do you even have a minute to step back and say, hey, why am I getting angry at them? What's going on here? If you got time in the car or time to talk to a friend, to kind of really think about it. And because we're doing the best we can in the moment. And when you have a lot of things going on, there's not a lot of time to stop and think about. I don't have
Yeah,
time to think about
we
how I'm
know that
talking to
one.
them. I've got too much to do to stop and think about it and learn these skills. Like, you got to be kidding me. I can't add this to my plate. I got enough on my plate. How am I going to do all that? And yet,
We know that real well.
you can take moments. You can take a minute and do some breathing. You can do it right there in front of them if you can't step away. You can, I have kids who say, stop doing that. Why are you tapping? And it's like, you know what? I'm doing this for me.
Yeah.
I need a minute. With kids, you could tell them I need a timeout. I need a minute here. Because if we're just going and doing and caregiving and plowing through it and getting things done. And we got to do this. Now I got to do my job. Now I got to take my kids here. I got to do this. I got to do this. I mean, what kind of quality of life are you experiencing? If you're listening to this, you're either acknowledging that you're a caregiver or you're seeing somebody else in that role or you're concerned about your parents getting into this, whether you're just at the beginning stages or you're in the thick of it and you just like, oh my God, I just need some ideas. I need to feel heard, right? Sometimes we just need to feel heard as the caregivers. And that's what support groups are great for. Even if you don't get any solutions, just being able to release that. Because if you don't let it out, it goes in and it turns into disease and illness. It causes anxiety, which is a real disorder, and it can cause body aches. And I mean, even internal organ structures, it affects that. It can affect how our body functions, our heart, our lungs, our kidney, our liver, all our organs and systems. And it really does turn inward.
So
That
let's
was a long answer to a short question.
that's okay.
That's
Well,
my
I think on this next one we probably just need to touch on just a few ideas of it. But this next one comes from Mary Lynn, and she says, "My mom has been diagnosed with dementia, and they don't feel that she can live on her own. How do I decide if she should live with me or find a facility?" There's a big question there. So
It's a big question. So she's being told she can't live on her own. So you need to have a conversation. Who is it that's telling her this? Do you have a professional involved? Is there someone who's knowledgeable in geriatric education? Do you have a provider who's and not just a doctor, because they have expertise in certain areas, but as far as their physical needs, are they going to rehabilitation? What is the physical occupational therapist, speech therapist, what are they recommending? If they've worked with your loved one, they can see what functionally she's capable of, safety issues. Finding a support group. How quickly do you have to make this decision? If you have a little bit of time, you can also do for right now, let's take this method and then we reevaluate and see what other options there are. But you need that support. You need to find resources because there are more options than you realize. Even if financially you don't think you can afford to bring in a caregiver, there are organizations that provide grants and funding to pay for caregiver services. I know this because of the Parkinson's Association. My mother has gotten grants because it's costly to bring in caregivers.
hmm,
And so other organizations might have these opportunities too, depending on what diagnosis your loved one has, the Alzheimer's Association, Parkinson's Association. I'm sure there's heart and lung, pulmonary fiber. I mean, there's organizations out there to support these different things. And Council on Aging, senior centers can be resources of support that can connect you with these things because
church, yeah, your church, your
there's
local churches,
right.
yeah.
Because whether it's equipment you need for them, a wheelchair, walkers, you can find low cost items, but the time frame matters. How much time do you have to make a decision? And if you make a decision, I'm afraid if I bring her home, she's not going to want to leave. Okay, well, you need time to figure out what's going to work. And so, can you get access to resources? Reach out to me. That's why I do consults. Um,
Yeah,
but
exactly. So,
but utilize the caregivers in place if they are at a rehab facility, because that's what often happens. They're in the hospital, they can't go home, they go to rehab. Depending on your insurance, and if you're looking at insurance for your parents, and this could be in their future, straight Medicare, it does a better job of paying for rehab services post-hospital than the managed care plans. They are notorious for saying, okay, 10 days, it's Friday, Monday's your last covered day, you got to leave. And it doesn't matter if they live alone or what. Um, so utilize those resources when they're there. Ask the therapist their opinion. Physical therapists have expertise in mobility, ambulation, gait, dealing with steps, assistive devices, the balance testing, they can give you what their fall risk is. They can tell you what they feel capable of. They're not really capable of doing steps. You're going to be at a really high risk. Yes, maybe they can go up and down the stairs 9 out of 10 times, but that one time something happens, and then they hit their head, they break a bone, that's going to lead to deterioration because each time someone falls or something happens and they go in the hospital, it tends to, and sometimes the deterioration is fast and sometimes it's a gradual. So we want to minimize falls and injuries and other risks. So asking them those questions, ask the speech language pathologist, they deal with swallowing, so safety, because aspiration is a big thing out there, but they also deal with cognition. And, where are they at? What do you think they're capable of? How much can we leave them on their own? And you can ask all these questions of all these therapists, the occupational therapist. It's about daily activities, self-care. How do you occupy your time? Well, how does your mom occupy her time? She gets up, she has to get her clothes out of the closet. She has to get dressed. She has to go to the bathroom. She's got to make herself something to eat. Well, okay, she's not safe to cook. We get frozen meals. She'll agree to that. Okay, but what about getting in and out of the shower? She likes to shower every day. Big fall risk. Do you have things in place to help and support that? Or can you bring someone in to be there for that? And again, there's many conversations here because there are
Yeah.
people who resist the care and there are people who are like, okay, whatever you can do. And their family members, they can't afford to pay someone, or the family, if there's enough members of the family, they can share the burden versus, and there's one person who's the caregiver. And then can be a really bigger burden on that one person. Um,
She can also listen to our podcast. We did a podcast. I'm not sure which number it is right now, but we did a podcast about the house.
yes.
So, just to get just a starting point anyway, because
I
it's
think we
really,
called it Ask the OT, bringing mom or dad home.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I kind of went through step by step all the components of bringing them home, whether it's their home living independently or your home or somebody's home, and just all the things you need to think about. Yeah, so scan through our podcasts that you can listen to or see here on YouTube. Our earlier podcasts were just audio, but those focused a little bit more on family and younger children.
Yeah.
What we have interviewed all kinds of people, asking different kinds of questions like this, having different experts on. That's what we're all about at Focused Healthy Family, is empowering you to have better relationships with your family through reducing stress and anxiety and improving communication skills.
So if you also can, consult with Gina, Gina can sit down with you and really get into more detail because like you said, it's very complex. Both of these questions had a lot of complexity to them. Just like, well, when we're dealing in the aging population, there's a lot of complexity to it, period. And so Gina can sit down with you and actually map through the details, look at your specific situation, and be able to help you to decide what to do based on what's going on for
And
your
help
loved
connect
one.
you with the resources, because I
Yeah.
know it takes time to do research and find these resources. So we're always compiling more resources for people because I don't have all the answers and I don't, have all the information, nor do I have time to do all of these things that I even know to do. But having a support system, having someone who can say, here's some resources, here's a step you can take, here's the questions you need to ask of these people, right? You want help, but you don't even know what to ask. So getting that support, um, and learning some tools like EFT tapping, which uh, Don does, and doing um, as an ongoing part of this community that we're growing as we work with people and build this support network. And
And so that's really it for our Tuesday tips for today.
Tuesday
And
tips, Don. This is Ask the OT.
oh, well, bringing that up, then let's let's mention that too.
We do a lot of different things. We do a weekly podcast that drops every Thursday, covers all kinds of topics related to parenting our children, our parents, and ourselves. We've been focusing more on the aging loved ones lately, but also our self care and juggling that with dealing with children, and whether they're adult children or children that are still at home and need our care.
And
Uh,
our next podcast is going, I mean next podcast. Our next Ask the OT. I'll get this right, I promise. It's been a long week. We have our next one is on June 17th at 7 p.m.
is that a Monday,
Um,
Don?
yes, I believe it is a
So
Monday.
Monday, June 17th, at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on YouTube. Again, if you want to send questions, send them to us. Contact us via email, via our Facebook page, our website. Um, how
Yeah,
else can they contact us, Don?
FocusedHealthyFamily.com really kind of gives it all. They can email me at don@focusedhealthyfamily.com, or my phone number 704-562-1630. They can text me or call. We don't mind calls either. But yeah,
Don's the business end of things, so he juggles that. I do have an email, Jean at Focused Healthy Family, but I am still juggling working in the field as an occupational therapist and raising children who are homeschooled but might be going to school and juggling all these different things. So he kind of handles the business component, but certainly will filter questions to me and support and in ways that we can help and support you. So
yeah.
please join us on all these different platforms to hear our podcast and let people know if you know someone who's dealing with this issue and like, oh, wow, yeah, I'm in a better place with caring for my mom. But what about, my friend? She's struggling with this and maybe this would help her. Or, oh, yeah, this podcast of yours, share it with them. Let them know. It gets the word out. We're really here to help people and, of course, to grow our business because you do need to put food on the table.
Well, we thank you for being part of it today and joining us. We hope you join us for the next one.
And remember how you speak to your children and your parents